Welcome to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and an occasional guest type podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show!
Hello, everyone. A brief special intro to this week's show. You know, Saturdays, I normally have on monologues that are in conjunction with a written article at JLenardDetroit.com. Well, we're working through some issues. So today's show, as well as an occasional other Saturday show here and there, may not be a monologue in conjunction with JLenardDetroit.com as I work to sync and coordinate, juggle beforeitsnews.com, JLenardDetroit.com, as well as now introducing Substack as an outlet for my articles, needing to try to coordinate and sync them all together, and some Saturdays that may or may not happen. So instead, like today,
I'm a bit operating a little slow. My chronic fatigue, immune dysfunction, as well as other things are kicking my hindside. Today is the week of conservationism. Part 2 will hit Before It's News and Substack in continuation of last week's show, Season 2, Episode 87 on conservationism, that deals with both parts of the Before It's News and Substack piece broken into two parts. So this week, I was going to record about the follow-up to the NOLA attacks. Well, I'm going to cheat. Let me be right up front with you. For Season 2, Episode 88, indeed, I will cover the NOLA attack to some degree, but also DOGE to some degree, because I'm recording this brief intro. Then I'm going to hand you over to what was a video exclusive that was put up on BitChute, Brighteon, Dailymotion, Rumble, and YouTube. That is now going to be, indeed, Season 2, Episode 88. So no longer video exclusive.
welcome to a video exclusive, DOGE versus the IRS. As I sit here recording this, in the background, on my TV, Jesse Waters Primetime is on, and going through a list of a lot of different things that the USAID program has been funneling money laundering things for projects abroad, like gay studies and this and that and the other thing that USAID has no business funding. Our government has no business funding abroad, let alone at home. These leftists could create a charity, a foundation, and raise funds privately if they wanted to fund condoms to the Congo or wherever they were sent to. Meanwhile, contraception isn't being used here at home, and therefore millions of babies are being slaughtered rather than preventing the pregnancy in the first place. So this episode, though, is specifically not necessarily about DOGE and all this money laundering of the left of taxpayer dollars to their pet projects, which is why the left is calling for people to be in the streets and oppose DOGE, because their money laundering operations are being exposed. But this episode is specifically about several states now filing suit against DOGE and the IRS trying to block DOGE from any and all records at the IRS. Now, the state suits are claiming that DOGE wants access to private taxpayer information. I personally, if I were a betting man, would say they're not asking for that. But if they want access to that, then indeed, I too want Elon to make his case why and what for, the how, the why, the where, the when, the how. I took journalism in school. I understand basic journalism, all those questions you're supposed to be asking. If he wants access to that information, then let me again state, in my opinion, I don't think they are asking for. The left wants to use this as a dodge, as a deflection, as a distraction, as a distortion to rile people up, because indeed, in my opinion, DOGE does not need information or access through the IRS to people's tax information. That is not the point and purpose of DOGE. I don't think they're asking for it. Again, the left, I believe in this case, is lying, trying to lie, to create a false narrative, to drum up emotionally hysterical snowflakes' opinions to oppose DOGE on false pretense. But just for sake of argument, let me say, if Elon wants access to that, then let him make the case. Tell me why you think you would need access to that. And I'm all about on this show, said it over and over, principles, not personalities. I'm not going to say if Elon wants to do it, let him do whatever he wants. No. What are the principles involved? Why? How? And on the merit of the supposition of the why and how, I will then decide to either support or oppose. What I do absolutely positively support is DOGE investigating the IRS and what the IRS spends our money on. What is their budget? What of their budget goes to payroll? To how many people? So we can do our own math as to how much these people are getting paid. And what other things does the IRS claim they should be able to be spending our money on? That is what DOGE versus the IRS is about. And the left, of course, cannot, will not, never are honest about it. They have to create the false narrative to drum up emotional hysteric snowflakes into attacking the concept that isn't actually the concept and what is going on. So I just wanted to take a brief moment to do a video exclusive update on that. DOGE versus the IRS. What really is going on? What is being lied about the process? What is being done for us, we the people, in finally indeed getting audits of all these departments and what they are spending their money on, and make them justify their budgets and what they are spending our money on. That is a very legitimate oversight function. So thank you all for taking the brief time to tune in for this. Please check out on beforeitsnews.com. I am at JLenardDetroit there, or Substack. I am now also at JLenardDetroit. JLenardDetroit.substack.com. Check out my pieces there. There are a couple pieces on Doge there already. So as a follow-up to this, please go to JLenardDetroit. Again, there's no O in Leonard. Let me move out of the way. See, left-right axis on video. Leonard, no O in Leonard. It looks like Leonard. It's not French. It's Leonard without an O. JLenardDetroit.substack.com for additional pieces on the Doge and the left lies and distortions about what is going on, and their concern about Elon not being an elected bureaucrat. Well, we knew Elon and RFK Jr. and Tulsi were all on the campaign trail with Trump. We knew we were voting for them when we voted for Trump. Who we have not voted for at all are the decades upon decades of leftist bureaucrats that the left has added into the administrative state that creates rules and regulations, often outside the congressional authority given the department they're in. And SCOTUS, look up Constitutionalist Politics anywhere you view podcasts. Look back for the Norton versus Shelby Township episode. SCOTUS ruled already long ago on governmental overreach and unelected bureaucrats who should not have federal worker protections. They should be able to be fired if they're doing things congressional authority was never given them to do. If you see me on behind the scenes sneak peek video, staring down at my notes to make sure, yes, it's going to be about two things now. Doge, brief suggestion, then 50 more. CTP episode, as author of Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. Obviously, with the terror strikes that happened on Wednesday, New Year's Day, I need to make a commentary about that. I think my body may be out of bed, but I think maybe my brain may still be back there, half asleep. At any rate, I will comment. I was on Maverick News with Rick Walker out of Ontario, Canada. You could go to rumble.com/c/Maverick regarding the terror attacks. And today I'll give some updates here because information, of course, still is fluid. Things can change. We were talking based on what we did know and some speculation. There's certainly going to be and remain some speculation going on regarding that till more and more of the facts release. At any rate, DOGE, Department of Governmental Efficiency, as it's supposedly known. I am already hearing excuses, but that's not what I really want to focus on here, but I have to touch on that. And please check out thelibertybeacon.com or beforeitsnews.com regarding my We the People demand list. We had a contract with America. We had a contract from America. We had a contract with America. Now I created We the People demand list because no, you cannot rest. The Buzzsprout transcript, you could see the extended show notes, including cross-reference related links, like to No, you cannot rest. If you expect you're going to go back to sleep and 2 years from now things will have gotten done, well, you don't get it. As I say there, so you voted. So what? What are you doing the next 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? If you expect to just vote, then go back to sleep, and 2 years from now, anything will have changed. Well, aren't you special? As that old Southern saying goes, right? Expecting something different by doing this, different results from acting the same way is just, sorry, stupid. We have to remain involved. We have to stay on top of our officials. We voted you in this mandate election to do the following things, and we expect, we demand that you do these things, including cut spending this time. But I'm hearing excuses, well, maybe a lot of these won't take effect for 10 years. No, 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 no. Now, not just now, but yesterday. Because indeed, spending that was authorized by a previous Congress is technically not bound by a next president and Congress. They can change the authorizations, and they should do that. Anything this Congress currently in 2024 has authorized should be immediately overturned. If that money has not been spent, it needs to be clawed back, as the saying goes. If you haven't spent, you were authorized to spend up to Z number of dollars, but you've only spent S number of dollars. Well, T through Z is now negated. You don't get to spend it anymore. We revoked the authorization. We are clawing it back. You cannot spend that extra 1 million, 1 billion, 100 billion, 1 trillion. What? I don't care if it's 2 pennies here, 2 pennies there, 2 pennies, whatever the amounts, claw it back, cut the spending. Eventually, all those numbers add up to a big number. And we are in trillion-dollar deficits, 35 trillion in debt. It can't be sustained. But what I wanted to say about DOGE here is, and looking at my notes, I'm going to just read this, okay? But again, this isn't all that's in the libertybeacon.com piece. This is just the first page. Oh, I did an ah. I caught myself. See what I did there? I did an ah. My apologies. I didn't self-filter that one out. But at any rate, yes, I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right. I have many issues with former Michigan governor, also known as the governor, self-proclaimed nerd, then therefore became the governor, like Schwarzenegger, the Governator, because of the Terminator films. Anyway, Rhino, in my opinion, very much a Republican in name only, certainly a Sino, a conservative in name only, Rick Snyder. However, while he did not a damn thing to curtail the waste, fraud, abuse of Michigan government spending, and we hear about that all. So waste, fraud, and abuse, there's no excuse to not immediately eliminate any fraud and abuse and Citizens Against Government Waste and any number of government watchdog groups every year. We don't really need a DOGE, but I'm glad we're going to have it. Every year, those groups put out wasteful spending, non-constitutional, extra-constitutional spending. By the billions they put it out, that could be cut. So we don't really need that, but Rick Snyder did fulfill his promise of creating open, public, viewable dashboards, stat presentation, etc., of more easily viewable what was going on and where regarding government income and government expenditures. Got to identify and define, and again, plenty of government watchdog groups do identify it and define it. The Congress never acts on it to be able to make case for cuts or not. That is something of value, should be part of the initial DOGE process. Transparency, putting that information up for all to see. Congress needs to pass a law, the president needs to sign it, mandating that these metrics, measuring systems, transparency mechanisms are put up on both the whitehouse.gov site and the congress.gov site, so we, the people, can keep an eye on the income and the expenditures and where it's going. And yes, I know military black budgets, we're never going to have full transparency. I'm not saying every penny of the Pentagon budget, of course, is going to be viewable to know how it's being spent. You don't let that out online for the enemies of our nation to see. But the supposed open budget for the benefit of the public spending, there's no excuse this isn't online and viewable to all. Went on to say, indeed, secret black ops budget items, they hide all kinds of money laundering. Unfortunately, they have to hide certain monies for secret new weapon systems programs and whatnot like that. That's never going to change, but that's really a smaller part of the budget we're talking about in the grand scheme of things. So just stating obvious, the deep state will attempt to hide all spending under and as such versus our need to get to the truth of things and where things can, could, should, must be cut. Stop this insane Cloward and Piven. If you don't know who they are, look it up. I've discussed them in previous episodes. Roads to bankruptcy, the left wants to happen. There's plenty of room for cuts, plenty of room for clawback of previously authorized funds. So no, realizing spending cuts 10 years from now, we've heard that manure before. No, immediate cuts now, not promises of later that never materialize. So indeed, now let's move on to the terrorism thing. Yesterday, again, recording Thursday the 2nd, New Year's Day, January 1st, 2020, too many 20s in there. 2025 is the year, not 2020-25. There were several attacks. They're still speculating whether or not they're connected because it appears from the facts being put out there now. And again, these are fluid. I'm not trying to dodge any facts, but I am questioning some facts, and some other facts may come out later that may shine new light, which is what I'm going to do here. Again, having been on the Maverick News Show Wednesday night, January the 1st, or you could go to rumble.com/c/Maverick and find the show there. I was saying I don't think they're related. The New Orleans attack and the Vegas attack, they seem very different. And one seems like an anti-Trump, anti-Elon political statement, where the other, the guy with the ISIS flag, seems more directly anti-American overall, ISIS inspired, not part of ISIS, but ISIS inspired attack. But they are saying now that potentially these two served at the same army base together. So there is a degree of connectivity there in that. Now, whether they indeed contacted one another and indeed conspired to do these things on the same day, or they coincidentally occurred on the same day, all these things are still a possibility, but they need to be treated as separate incidents. It's possible that the guy in New Orleans, who now originally they were saying they had a bolo, be on the lookout for 3 male potential accomplices and 1 female potential accomplices. Now they're saying they think he acted alone. Well, if he had a remote detonator for the improvised explosive devices, IEDs, that he had with him in the truck and that were planted elsewhere, that he could remote detonate them, it does speak to that he could have done it alone. And this is like a combination attack, like the Halloween drive attack of New York City from 2017, the Waukesha, Wisconsin drive attack at the Christmas parade, I think was 2021, and of course last year's Germany Christmas-related driver attacks. But this has aspects of the marathon bombing scheme also, with the IEDs that he looked to set off. But for some reason, he got out of the truck, started engaging against New Orleans law enforcement officers rather than detonating those devices. So in that respect, that's a good thing, because like the Boston Marathon bombing, these appear to have had nails in them and would have injured, if not killed, many additional people than those he just mowed down. So these are clarification facts, again, as we know them now. More information may come out. Things are fluid. Things can change. The fog of war, things can get accidentally misapplied or avoided being applied where they do apply. It does take time to sort these things out. But indeed, at any rate, I just wanted to put that out there. Whereas the Vegas attack, the guy did it in New Orleans, and the guy in Vegas 3 hours later might have then just decided, oh, hey, that happened, so I've been kind of thinking about doing this, and rushed together, or had a plan to do it, but may not have been planning to do it that time, that location, and it was a attack of opportunity. Wow, while people are distracted by New Orleans, then did that there. There's always the piggyback, copycat, like again, the German attack. The New Orleans attack seems to be a bit of a copycat of the Halloween, the Waukesha parade, and the Germany attack, as well as the marathon bombing, as I said. And the Vegas seems just a copycat of any kind of car bombing, whereas thankfully the guy didn't understand electric vehicles, the nature of lithium batteries is they burn hot as the sun, but they don't tend to explode. The explosion, they're saying a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Vegas. No one injured, let alone killed, thankfully. No one injured. They did evacuate the hotel. for a short period. But no, the truck did not explode. Improvised explosive devices. He had devices like propane tanks and fireworks and whatnot that do indeed explode or can indeed explode. That exploded in a Tesla Cybertruck. The Tesla Cybertruck itself did not explode or cause secondary explosions. Those were all the fireworks and flammable things he had. Now, thankfully, he didn't really have a well thought out plan for something that would really explode, like a Tim McVeigh at the Oklahoma City bombing. That could have been a massive attack in Vegas, but he didn't understand the truck wasn't going to explode. So thankfully, it was a criminal, a terrorist who didn't quite understand fully what he was doing, despite having some Army training. He's clearly not a bomb tech. Could have and should have, thankfully not, put together far more things. And the design of the Cybertruck actually kind of contained the degree of the explosion that did happen from within the vehicle. And none of the glass at the front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas was even shattered. Those are the facts. Again, in New Orleans, the big question to me is, why did he drive from Houston to New Orleans to do this? Why not run over people in Houston and try to blow things up in Houston? I fully expect, since he had the ISIS flag, he had to have had a manifesto somewhere, whether they have it or not yet or not found it. Hopefully we'll see that soon and we'll get some insight into his thoughts there. But to me, that he drove all the way to New Orleans suggests he had co-conspirators to help him in New Orleans, or otherwise, why would he drive that way? That's just a big gaping question in my mind in thinking of the whole overall terrorism plot as to why in the world would you go and do that. But indeed, at any rate, do indeed please check out the Doge brief suggestion and 50 more at thelibertybeacon.com, and as well as We the People Demand List parts 1 and 2 at thelibertybeacon.com that associate with this. Also, this is almost a part 3, as well as beforeitsnews.com. JLenardDetroit, just like I am on most social media platforms. There are like 5 different ongoing series entries of things there regarding We the People Demand List, because, and again, check the extended show notes. No, you cannot rest parts 1 and 2, because no, you can't go back to, oh, what time? Yes, an occasional break makes sense. But yes, occasional distractions, important. You can't go back to being consumed by all the distractions. They want you to not pay attention to what's going on in D.C. And you cannot go back to sleep. Our founding documents say, we the people, not him the Trump, not those in D.C., we the people are the bosses and in charge, and we the people must stay on top of them to make sure they are representing us and doing what we the people sent them to do, not what they choose to do, and has been the case pretty much forever. You vote them in, you go back to sleep, you don't pay attention, in 2 years you wake up. Why didn't anything change? Well, because you didn't change. I know I'm not speaking to all of you in this audience. Some of you in this audience are, like me, involved all the time. paying attention and contacting officials and things like that. You need to be lighting up their phones and their emails at least a couple times a month. Every month, year-round, whether it's an election year or not, you need to stay on top of them so they know you are watching this time. You are paying attention. You are being involved. Not, oh, I voted. Go back to the couch. What's on TV? 24/7 bread and circus distraction. No. Focus. We, the people, must stay engaged and be involved.
The Constitutionalist Politics Podcast, normally in conjunction and corresponding with articles, can normally, for the Saturday monologue shows, be found at theforgenews.com, Substack, and find extended show notes, including related links, in the Buzzsprout episode edition of the transcript. Thank you for having tuned in for Constitutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.